Meeting started.
Did you see these?
Right?
He did a bunch
Public
of.
meeting notice, October 30th, Board of Health. This meeting is being video and audio taped. All present.
Yep.
We'll go to correspondence.
Motion open.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Yep.
So voted. All right, to correspondence. We've got the blood pressure clinic, which had 53 attendants. Some other information down there, not much. Need a motion?
Motion to place on file.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted.
Right on.
And right now, we're gonna go right to the plans, and we have reviewed the plans. So I'm just gonna go to motion on, we do have one, actually, that there was an issue on that we'll take out when we get to it. But the first one is a septic plan, 11 East Mills Road with no variances. It's a septic repair plan. Can we get a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted. And the next one is 6 Henry Drive, also a septic repair with no variances.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. We have a new construction plan, map 4 lot 20, map 4 lot 28 Keene Road. And that's new construction.
Yeah, that's all right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted. And we have one issue on Lisa Avenue that.
Motion to hold.
Place a
Second.
hold on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. The next one will be 6 Tootle Lane, septic repair.
That's 60.
I'm sorry, 60 Tootle Lane, septic repair. And there was no issues with that, with no variances. Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve.
The groundwater separation, the first one.
No, that one.
No.
We held that one.
We're holding for.
We held that. We're holding for, we're gonna go back to that. We're on
This one here. Yeah, all right, okay, yep.
motion.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. 19 Clifford Street, that's with Sharon Associates, septic repair, one variance requested.
Motion to approve the variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted.
Motion to approve the plan.
Second.
All in favor? Yep.
Aye.
So voted. Number 7, map 2 lot 7G Keene Road, new construction again, and actually, as we're already saying,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted. We'll go to number 8, map 4, lot 28, 4 Keene Road, dash 4 Keene Road. Right on the same.
What's that? That's it. It's up there in the woods.
Right-hand side, as you're going down King Road, there's 5 new lots, 3 houses being built.
Okay, yeah, I know
And then
it is.
there's the last 2 are on.
It's just on a big gravel bank there one time.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
In a motion,
Motion to approve.
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Now we have Weldon Lane. I think we've seen that before, didn't we? Septic repair plan, one variance requested. Reduction of the requirement of a 12-inch separation between the inlet and outlet tees of the septic tank and pump chamber, and high groundwater provided all boots or pipe joints are sealed with hydraulic cement, are installed with watertight sleeves, and the tank is within watertight. We get a motion on the variance.
Who's this Zines guy, David?
Fairly new company. So I think they started about 18 months ago. They're formed from 2 guys that just went on their own,
Oh,
got
okay.
together.
Now, I was wondering, when I seen it, I said, who the heck's this Zenith?
We've seen them a few times.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see that.
okay, second,
Motion to approve the variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted.
Motion to approve the plan.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Map 3, Lot 5, Main Street. This is new construction also, Fowler Corporation. No issues on that.
no,
Motion to approve the plan.
second,
All in favor?
yep,
Aye.
So voted. And then we got map 3, Lot 5C, Main Street, also Fowler Corporation. New construction, no issues.
Motion to approve.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Oh, we can go back to that 4.
Yeah, Lisa, yes.
I need to make a note on that. I think we can approve it from what I,
Yeah, what I'm saying, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance, which is 452 feet.
yep,
all in favor?
yeah,
Aye, and motion to approve the plan pending, we just mark it on there that the pump chamber has to be a monolithic.
Okay.
They did not change that as part of the revisions, I think they just missed it.
you're
Changed
gonna
the
write that
septic,
in the plan, Joe?
saying septic tank, but not the pump chamber, we should just mark it on there.
Alright,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
So that's my motion.
Okay, second,
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted.
There's a lot of changes on that, so.
Yeah, well,
All right, we'll go to discussion, and then we'll go right to tobacco control. And I believe, Mr. Correa went to a coalition meeting this afternoon, this morning. So I'm gonna pass it over to him so he can explain what went on with that, and also go over the regulations.
Yep, so again, we've met, at December 30th of 2018, Massachusetts the Massachusetts laws changed the age of purchase from 18 to 21. So the state funds coalitions, in which this coalition is with Dartmouth, Fairhaven, Freetown, New Bedford, Marion, and Rochester, and Acushnet. And what that does is it helps us to group together for enforcement purposes, but also to, discuss and talk about regulations, and obviously this 21, age change to 21. So at this particular point in time, what we've discussed is that there is some issues if we do not change our regulations by December 30th of this year, that would potentially, it would grandfather younger people for 3 years if they're 18 years or older on December 30th for the next 3 years. Then at that point, everybody in our community would be at 21. So the big deal with this, and the strange thing about the law being changed, is that it'll create an issue mostly with our retailers, with our vendors, and the possibility of problems in regulating that, because they would really have to watch what they're doing when they're carding people and looking at what ages, because it's gonna be 18-year-olds,
As it
20-year-olds, 19-year-olds for 3 years. And the general consensus from the coalition as a whole is that wouldn't be a prudent idea to not change our regulations and create that kind of an issue with our vendors, with the retail vendors. The thought is probably for November is to vote to have you guys take a look at voting to change the age within the community, our regulation to 21, which is ultimately what Massachusetts is doing anyways, come December 31st. And that would eliminate any grandfathering for that 3-year period, or any issues that would be associated with enforcement of that. Everybody, and this is what we're trying to do throughout the entire coalition, is have everybody change. Marion's already at 21, so it's just a matter of the rest of us going, and generally speaking, the meetings that they've all had with their Board of Health all feel the same. There is some potential hiccups in that. You know, there are some communities that may or may not do it, but the majority of them all are looking like they want to do 21 by the end of the year. And then from that point forward, look at redoing our regulations to update them to what's really going on currently. There's modifications in definitions, which will reflect in our current regulations, but just to bring it all together as a whole, so the enforcement part of it will be equal throughout all the different coalitions, through all the different communities around here.
I spoke to a few of the vendors and retailers in the area, and they seem to be on the same page because of that change. If it's gonna be very difficult for them to watch, because you know the coalition is gonna be on top of that, and things will happen probably the days of the time of the year that it's gonna change to 19, then it's gonna change to, they did the same thing with the alcohol, when it was 18 and we moved it over to 21. That might have, what they seem to think, and the people that I spoke with, and its local stores, seem to be on the same page as far as it being 21. You know, going right to 21 years old. I realize, we talked about it before at the last meeting, you know, if you can go fight in the service, why can't you buy a pack of cigarettes? Well, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. If somebody's overseas, I'm sure there's not gonna be a problem for them to have access to that. I just feel that this is gonna cause, if we don't do this and go directly to the 21, it's gonna cause issues with fines with these retailers. You know, when they do the stings, I think it's gonna be a lot more difficult for them to follow. Okay, the 19 now we gotta change everything, and you gotta keep an eye on it. And you got new employees in some of the stores that are not on the ball, and it happens. And I mean, you know, it's a $100 fine. It's gonna cost the retailer more money.
It's not 18 forever. It's
Right.
only 18 for 3 years.
Right.
And so, you know, how easily could a retailer fall into, you know, somebody look at, oh, you're 18. And ultimately, they're not the 18-year-old. It was the 18-year-old that was 18 on December 31st.
Right.
Not the one that was 18 on 2018 on 2019.
Right.
Because the 18-year-old on 2019 can't buy cigarettes.
Every night.
Right, so it's just gonna
It's
get
gonna make
very,
it confusing
It's a little
for,
bit confusing.
and, and speaking with the people that, you know, this is where they make money, seem to be, you know, they seem to understand where we're coming from. And I think as a board, I'm recommending that that's what we do. So that's my.
Can I have an input on
Oh, yeah.
on this?
That's what we do.
Okay. Now, this is going to be for tobacco, as well as drinking, wine, booze,
Well, that's-
21, and related. Now, how about these little pipe things these things you see that blowing smoke
Vaping.
out of the cars, is that gonna be involved with this too?
that is under the new Massachusetts law. It is absolutely described
I
in
just
there.
want the people to know, I
Yeah.
know what it's about, but I just wanna bring it up, that way if somebody don't know, now, that's gonna eliminate the 18-year-old
Yep.
to purchase
Any tobacco
that,
product.
whatever you, well, what is that? Anyhow,
Vaping.
Considered a tobacco
some
product.
kind of a
Vaping.
smoke.
Vaping.
Yeah, vaping.
Vape.
So
I'm old-fashioned, yeah.
Massachusetts law changed the definition of smoking and smoke, which is part of our regulations right now, to include electronic cigarettes or any type of, that type of situation.
I just wanted to bring that up, Joe,
So,
that way
yep,
people will
it's-
know that they're not there, somebody will call up and say, what the heck did you guys go and do here? Now, my kid can't have this now because he's gotta be 21 to have this. This way, if people will know now on cam, whoever's watching us,
Yep.
that they're not allowed to get it.
Right.
Okay?
So we're just following state law.
Yeah,
I mean, what would be the upside to not changing the regulation? It really
well,
isn't.
Dave, you know the way people are, sometimes they
Right. But,
overreact to the
To me,
kids.
it's a no-brainer. Should have been done a long time ago. I feel bad when I see kids 18 years old smoking it up. Do we have to advertise?
Yes.
We would advertise after, but you'd approve first. So we would, and once you approve it, but I mean, again, from.
Is the coalition gonna pay for advertising?
No.
I mean, we could technically take a vote now and then just
Yes.
advertise later.
We could, but I actually am concerned because of the way that it's on the agenda. To be honest, so it's the Tobacco Coalition that's on the agenda, and it's not spelled out about changing.
Enough said, we don't have to go on.
So we can, I would
Put it on
entertain a
the
motion
agenda.
to table it to the next meeting
Yeah,
and have the correct wording in
Yep.
the
On the agenda.
regulation.
Yep.
So we can get that as a motion.
so moved. We're gonna put it on the next.
Put it on the next.
Okay, I heard you say something, not too good over here. Sexual.
Yeah. All in favor for that?
Aye.
So voted. That will go to the next meeting, and we'll make that a vote. All right. Title V,
Thanks for letting me sit in.
Sure.
All right.
thanks for stopping by.
All right, take care, beautiful town.
Thank you. Cash sales regarding Title V.
Yep, I mean, we continue to stay on top of that. We do have one of, coming up down the line here, one issue that revolves around that, but right now, we're up to date.
Motion,
Motion to keep on file.
Second?
all in favor?
Yep.
So
Aye.
voted. Noise regulations, same issue. Yeah, we gotta work on that, but I think we got two other more important things right at this time. I don't know, Joe, have any comment on that, Joe?
No, I mean, again, I haven't got any real big concerns with noise, so.
Okay,
Motion to table it till the next meeting.
Second?
all in favor?
Yep.
So
Aye.
voted, pumping records should be in order. Joe,
Keep it on the agenda?
Motion to keep
The
on the
pumping
agenda.
records are good, yep.
all in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
So voted. 198 Mattapoisett.
You wanna come in?
Oh,
The pumping records is to keep on the agenda, right?
Yes, yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
I just,
Stay on top of
I
that.
couldn't hear David down the other end. I gotta sit somewhere closer.
We have 198 Mattapoisett Road, Joe? I know you spoke to me about it.
Yeah, 198 was something that the board had asked me to keep on the agenda from the last meeting because of the fact that we hadn't heard from him. It was a housing code violation, the people had moved out, but he hadn't contacted me. In the meantime, he had contacted me, he made me aware, he had received a letter that nobody would live there until he corrected it. This had mold in the basement, and nobody is living there. He hasn't
Which
corrected
one
it.
is that? Is that the one that had the plywood all over the driveway?
No.
Okay, is that the trail, the mobile home?
Nope, this is further down from there.
Okay.
It's just a colonial, a straight-faced colonial, and it was rented out to,
I saw some activity at that mobile home. They starting to do the septic. Is it a different one? You know which one I'm talking about on the left-hand side?
I don't,
No?
not off
Okay.
the top of my head. The mobile home I'm thinking of is the one that is gone. And it's got a big house there now, but the other mobile home is,
I'll touch base
Yeah.
later about it.
I probably will remember.
All right, we get a motion
Motion.
What's the motion?
yeah, what's
Well,
the
I
motion?
mean,
to
at
keep
this
it on,
point,
to keep it on the
Then
agenda.
we periodically, he'll go by there and check it
I
out.
don't think that we have to keep it on the agenda. I mean, the
No.
big deal was
Okay.
that he didn't respond, and then he did.
Okay.
So
We don't
now,
want nobody moving in there unless
Right.
it's all cleaned up.
right.
So you may have to go down there again and check it out.
I will have to, I mean, he knows as it stands right now, that that's what needs to happen.
Okay.
So I need to be notified when he makes those
You don't think
corrections.
keeping it on the agenda, that way
Well, that's
we
fine.
can ask you the next meeting, now, if you checked on it or not?
Bob, absolutely, no worries.
Joe to follow up.
Motion
to
on
file.
it, motion to file,
What
Joe's
are we
gonna
doing?
follow up. Motion to file.
You're filing it, not on the agenda?
It's, Joe's gonna
Joe will
follow up,
follow
it's not
up.
on
If
the
there's any further
agenda.
issues, he can bring it back to us.
All right.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, you're making it really difficult here, come on.
No.
I will let you know if he doesn't. I mean, I will say-
396 Middle Road, follow up.
Right, so this one is
Another
much,
situation.
yeah, this
This
is
is a
much
cash
more of a
sale.
problem. So this was a cash sale, as much as I can determine. We certainly weren't aware. This septic system went back and forth for a while. at the beginning because of the fact that there was people interested in buying this particular place. It's the old dress shop. They were gonna put in, I think they were thinking about doing a daycare. So the septic system was essentially designed for daycare.
Right, I remember that.
So that's the backstory there, but it was designed and it was approved in 2016. It's actually, its time has expired for the installation of it. In the meantime, it came across our plate as a cash sale. I sent them a letter, which is here, and they didn't respond to the easy letter saying, hey, listen, you gotta talk to me about what's going on here. The aggressive letter was then sent out about, at this point, it's a little over 14 days ago. I'd given them 14 days to respond to me. Again, the certified mail came back unanswered. I've since had a conversation with town council in regards to it, rather than letting it sit around and nothing happened. There's definitely people living there. The house has definitely been changed. The title has been changed. And the septic system that's there is an old, broken down pit that is definitely failing. It was failing then, and now it's getting used again. So my suggestion is tomorrow morning I send this stuff down to town council and have them at least start with the letter. It's already been documented from our standpoint, let it start getting documented from them. And if this way it doesn't get too far out, you know, and get them to comply. Again, I don't understand why it's so easy to just have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
Right, we don't want it to go to the situation that we
That
had.
last, yeah, I thought we were way too
That's-
easy and
yeah.
learn our lesson. Motion
So-
to have Joe contact town council and start legal procedures.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. All right, next one is 1618-18 South Main Street. I think Joe spoke with that gentleman, and I think you have some info on that.
Yeah, I'm happy with the letter. Motion to just have Joe follow up.
Okay.
I mean, that was really it. I mean, he's doing the best he can.
Yep.
He did pull the permit. And
I'm good with
Yeah,
it.
he's complying, so.
Motion to file a letter and have Joe follow
Second. All in favor?
up. Aye.
So voted. All right, now we come to the proposed animal regulation.
So,
I'll let that handle, let Joe go
as
on that one.
As we discussed, you know, going back several months ago, it was brought to our attention that we had some deficiencies in the animal regulations, or some, not this, different feelings on it. As moving forward, it was thought that it would be wise to relook at what the original animal regulations were, to revise them, update them a little bit more, taking into concern a lot of the residents' issues with the smaller animals, the chickens, the rabbits, and things of such. So I spent some time looking over some different regulations in several different communities and how they handled and managed the smaller animals, and ultimately used our regulations the way that they were, added in a little bit more definitions, if you will, a little bit more about sanitary, just keeping areas clean, but took out, or at least put an exemption in for animals that are under 20 pounds, that aren't turkeys, that aren't, you know, peacocks, things that can tend to be noisy, roosters. And if they're, you know, and that exemption also allows them to have 12, up to 12 animals under 20 pounds, essentially for no money. Just an application to let us know what they have for animals. If it's new, if there's a new person making a new application for new animals, they would initially get charged the $35 application fee, which is essentially a fee to review the application to make sure that find out where they fit in our regulations. If they fall underneath that exemption, then they would be allowed to have the animals that they filled out on that application. If it's 12 chickens, they would be allowed to have 12 chickens. And then the following year, they would have to fill out a new application, which is very similar to the way that we handle it right now, but there would be no fees. There would be no further fees. That's for brand new ones. The people that already have them, at this point, they would already fall under the exemption. Some of these people have already paid the fees. So it would be moving forward from the point where it was actually adopted. Of course, we haven't changed anything to do with stables. Stables are still the same. But, again, a group of these smaller animals, they're not really, they're not making noise and they're well maintained, which for the most part, the residents do. They're not really a nuisance in any way. So to have to, we still, our animal inspector still needs to be aware. They may still have to go in, she may still have to go in there and do inspections herself from a state standpoint. But from the Board of Health standpoint, as long as this is what these regulations are from the Board of Health, as long as there's no issues involved in, again, waste or odor or noise or any kind of nuisance, then it's just really, they're exempt from the animal regulations. And that, at this point, that's what I've put together, and that's what you have in front of you. That's what I've shipped out to you to try.
Everything in black is something you've added?
No, everything in black is actually the original regulations. Everything in red is what I added or changed.
Okay.
Again, I went to try to make it a little bit more clear, both from the regulatory standpoint and from the person being regulated. I added a lot of definitions into it, like section 3 applications. Essentially, that's all the same exact stuff that was in our original animal application. B, C, and D are the same. E is the exemption that was added in. On the general conditions, on number 4, again, that A was pretty much, was exactly the same. That was taken from our regulation. The B, that had to do with properly ventilated buildings of substantial construction. Obviously, I just added in, that shall be kept in clean, wholesome, and attractive condition, free from decaying food, filth, feces, stagnant. Again, just tried to spell it out a little bit more. And then some of these other additions here, the E, F, G, H, I, J, just to really kind of make it clear on what the Board of Health wants to see versus not want to see. No foxes, skunks, minks, raccoons, or other fur-bearing areas shall be raised for commercial purposes. Sanitary
They even
requirements.
do minks. Years ago, they used to raise minks for fur coats and stuff, and mink coats, and that's not permitted no more, huh?
Well, it depends. You are at the Board of Health. You haven't approved it yet.
No, I know it's a now thing, that was years ago when I knew people used to raise minks, raise them and sell them.
Yeah, does anyone raise animals for hides anymore?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with Pete.
I don't think so.
Kind of
Kind of a lost.
I
fallen
don't
by the
even know if anybody
wayside.
goes muskrat hunting anymore.
Yeah, in Alaska.
That's what you used to do.
Hey, used to pay, give me a lot of money. $3 a
Bush
pop.
people.
I know it's already there, it's in our reg.
Alaskan.
Well, one time they had
I used to.
bounties for
Like
coyote
you, but
pellets.
$3 a pop.
Was that
$3 a
protected?
pop, 50, 60
No,
years ago was a lot of
Maybe
money.
not protected, it was a hunt season for them.
Oh, that's right, but I mean,
But they used to give you a bounty for them.
Let's go back to this.
Let's get back to
Keep going,
that.
Joe.
So,
That's
at this point right now, anything that we do has to be advertised.
Well, that's what I was.
So you get a few different options. I mean, if for some reason, if this was something that you felt as though, was approvable, you could approve it. at that point, it would have to be advertised, put out in, like in the newspaper, the regulation, then after that, it would become effective. Until it was actually advertised, it wouldn't be effective. It would just be approved, but it wouldn't mean it. On the other end, we could, if this is acceptable, the realistic part of all this is that the intent has always been to deal with the agricultural committee. That's where I'd gone and got most of the input from the last time, to go back to them and let them take a look at this too. But the very first thing I wanted to make sure, as a good health
Do
agent,
we
is that
have,
it's
do
in
we
front
have
of you
money
guys.
to publicize this?
No,
We don't have no money to publicize it.
Well, we can get it.
we'll get it at that time when it comes. It just has to be advertised.
Has the ag committee seen this?
No.
I think they wanna see if we're in favor of this, and then we present it to them. And then they can make, you know, their opinion on it.
Well,
But from what I've reviewed, and I think what Joe did was
Basically,
a pretty good job,
It's basically
making
farm
these
practice on
changes.
this.
you know?
it's,
Um,
yeah, it's more defining or clarifying,
Yeah,
right? I
pretty
mean,
much.
The
And then there's-
regulation's already in place.
and then, and it's that small let's see, the small, the fee schedule here with the animal permits.
I was
How that, I think I kinda like that idea, the way
I
we
was a
have
little
that.
confused on it.
So the application fee is $35 for a new.
So if somebody
For a
comes
new-
and says, Joe, I wanna get some
Not
animals,
existing.
then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get, like I always did with every animal application, that was $50. You know, I give them the applications, fill it out, show me where you put your animals, what you're doing, you know, here's the regulations. Then that will come back to me and I will review it and then start to figure out where we need to go. If it's not falling under the exemption and it has some issues with the regulation, then what I typically would do is say, okay, well, it needs to come in front of the board.
Right.
And you guys can make that decision. We dealt with that one with a horse, you know, where you ultimately notify if we need to, whatever the case may be, it becomes the board's decision. But if it's in that regulation and it fits in that regulation, then I'll give them a permit based on, as long as they can comply. So that's if somebody comes in with new animals and they want to apply to have those on their property. So then I'm gonna take that application, it's a $35 fee, and I'm gonna show it to the animal inspector. And she's gonna be aware of the fact that now that they have animals there, and that we know, everybody knows that they have animals in case there's any questions or issues or complaints that come up. The following year, they would fill out the application again, which is what they do now. Anybody that has animal or stable applications, fill out the application. And that's just a quick once over saying we still have these animals, or maybe we've changed it from these animals to those animals. Just to make sure that we know what's going on. Again, that goes to the animal inspector every year. No more fees in that case.
Yeah.
You know, the people that have been paying the fees already, the animal application fees, of course, I wouldn't expect, that's up to you guys, but I wouldn't expect to charge them the fee. Already, they're there, fill out the application, tell us what we have. We move forward, there's no more fees for under 12 animals as long as they're under 20 pounds. If,
I still have questions because I have
Sure.
to stop because I still find it confusing because what you just said doesn't agree with what I read. Okay, I think we need more, like in parentheses, okay, so let me ask you a question. This is for clarification.
yeah, sure,
because I
sure,
don't get
please
it.
do.
So if somebody wants to have 2 rabbits, are they paying a $35 fee because it's a new application?
Yes.
Or are they exempt? Because this says they're exempt, but you're saying, nope, you're gonna pay the application fee, but you're exempt.
Well, we don't know if they're exempt until they provide us with the application
But why would they pay the $35?
for our review.
So
That's
they're really
new.
not exempt.
So we
That's for
don't
a
know,
new
we
application.
don't know, let's look at it, I would say, what I'm trying.
Shouldn't it- I guess what I'm saying is, shouldn't it says there's application fee, new, okay, I get
Yeah.
that, somebody new coming
Has
in.
no animals.
Shouldn't it say in parentheses next to there, those who don't meet the exemption have to pay $35?
Well, we could back
Because
that,
if you get 10 chickens and you come in and you say, look, I'm letting you know I got 10 chickens, why should I have to pay a fee if the fee down below says 0?
It's more, I mean, listen, the way I see it, yeah, I see it like from a Title
I
V
see-
standpoint, but if you're gonna get a variance, you actually have to submit the application, we have to review it to see if we can give them
in that
the variance,
application.
and that's kind of the way that I
That's
looked
not
at it.
freebie.
So I
But
don't
aren't we
necessarily.
trying to, don't we wanna promote people to come in and give you the information?
Yes.
So why charge them to come in and be good, honest citizens and say, I'm gonna have 10 chickens?
But what if they
Here's
come in
my-
and they say, I have 10 chickens and 2 cows?
Okay, well then you can explain at that point, you actually have to apply for a permit for the cows, cause they don't fit under the 20 pound, and it should say 20 pounds, not just up to 12 animal exemption. There just should be, this section just, to me,
Okay, all right.
isn't clear.
Okay, I got you,
And
I
and
mean,
I don't see why would you charge anybody for 12 or less? If they're exempt, I think they should be exempt completely. I want them to come in and tell you, put it on record, say, hey, look, as long as you keep doing it every year, it costs you nothing.
Well, yeah, but the application fee part is the $35 for new. We have, in other words, we have to find out, do they have the proper, area? I mean, he's gonna have to do some research before you can, give him the permit.
because
just
the
like going
exception is
for,
30,000 square feet.
There's a bunch of exceptions inside in the law. So
Okay.
he has to review all of that, that's why there's a $35 fee. So in other words, he's gonna have to go there, or they're gonna present everything, he's gonna have to review it, that's why there's a fee, just like there's a fee with the septic plans and a fee with everything else.
I think we should
That's-
clarify that, so that, because to me, when I'm looking at this as a non-animal person, other than a dog,
That's a different
Hey,
department.
Bob, you gotta apply for a permit for that.
I'm exempt because it's on the, well, actually,
He's over 20 pounds though.
I think we should say under 20 pounds, animals, 12 animals which are under 20 pounds, and I think we should explain,
It is, it's in the regulation.
What I should do
but when
is just
people see this
remove that.
list, to me, it's not clear.
What if I
I
do-
was scratching my head saying, well, wait a minute, what, the $35? And
But they're gonna have a copy of the regulations, and they're gonna have to read that.
people don't wanna read it.
Well, they're gonna have to.
So I
Why are we gonna
understand,
make it easy for
This is
them?
what they're gonna say, this is
Right.
what they're gonna ask, I just wanna make it clear. Okay,
Yeah,
so now I
however you want.
understand more about the $35.
Right, that's what that's all about.
But there is a lot of people in
The
town
reason
that
why
don't know how to
there's-
read and write either.
Oh, God, come
I'm serious, that have farms,
on. We're not going there.
under the,
You're
up
gonna have
to
to go to
12
the school
animals
committee for
under the
that.
exemption, I mean, so.
Hey, Bobby, they're exempt. They've been there
I'm
all
exempt,
time.
What I
I'm
could
exempt, no follow
potentially
English.
do is
Sounds
put,
good to me.
like,
Cherry.
application fee renewal under the exemption. I mean, I get what you're saying, I get exactly what you're saying.
Like line
I
2
could-
and 3 says renewal,
Yeah, but you're not
application.
gonna put all of that information there. You're gonna say, this is what we have right now. And here's the
He's
regulations.
just trying to explain to the people what.
These are the
what goes on
regulations.
there.
You need to read through the regulations. You can't put all that over there.
No, but something in parentheses on each line would help clarify, because I'm still confused, because it says application fee renewal 0, but your animal permit's gonna cost you 50.
Yeah, if you need an
Everything's
animal-
counter contradictory to itself on the 4 lines, to me, I
Not
just,
if you read the regulations.
I know, but
You don't think they're gonna read the regulations?
No.
I can
to me,
try
it's not
to
clear.
clarify that a
I
little
just-
bit more. I get what you're saying,
All right.
I do, I understand what you're saying, I mean, the stuff is fine. The animal permit is gonna be yearly, that's gonna be an annual permit if you have, it's still gonna be the same. If you have a bunch of cows, or a bunch of sheep, or a bunch of goats, or anything like that, that was always what the animal regulations were about. So that technically, from that standpoint, has been left alone, it's $50 a year. You come in, the application, you technically have to redo the application, but we're not gonna charge you again for the application to redo it. It's $50 a year, that's the animal permit. Again, Dave, I get what you're saying, it is part of the regulations, and that's I get Tom too, but just, I tried to make it clear on here so that I could ultimately say, listen to somebody, I hear what you want, and I hear what you're looking at, but this is what we
yeah,
have.
I don't wanna overword it, but to me, it's simplified, too simplified, in that it's confusing.
Okay, okay.
I'll make a motion I'll entertain a motion that Dave review that, and you come up with whatever you think's gonna look better on that. I'm just saying.
Well,
How about if you put into parentheses there, please review regulations?
Okay.
Which is what I always do.
I initially made notes when I first looked at this,
Mhm.
and I took a picture and I sent it to your
Review
phone,
regulation.
but I deleted it off my phone. So I did have initial thoughts, but I just, so.
Yeah, please,
I
I mean,
would
I have
say-
no problem.
And I don't remember what I wrote, but I gotta rationalize it through.
All right. It's still gonna be the same though.
This will stay the same, and that'll stay the same, it'd be in between, it'd be something in
But
parentheses.
you still
for
have to
clarification.
charge the $35 fee, and
I
that's
get
still gonna
that,
be
yes,
zero.
yes.
I just wanted to, I wanted to clarify that we weren't gonna charge any more for application fees. And that's part of the confusion, because I changed that to application fee. So that's a difference, that's one difference that we have that we didn't have. Although the application was always part of the animal renewal, which was $50 every year,
Yeah,
the animal permit renewal, I looked at it by separating this out, because there are gonna be people that come in and they're gonna want they have large pieces of property, they're gonna have a lot of animals, and it's gonna be a little bit more of an effort, there's gonna be, some of like what Tom said. So I thought that it was fair to keep that fee in there, I mean, that's what fees are for, but not to over-fee or overtax people with the smaller animal groups, which is what we were having a lot of.
So basically, if I come in and ask for an application fee, it's new for me,
New
I
fee.
paid it $35.
And you get a copy of the regulations.
I already have a copy.
No, but that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Right, a customer.
But the thing is, after that, you just come in to register just to say that you are having animals,
Yeah, some
and that's a
animals
zero
may-
fee. That's forever
That's under the exemption,
on the exemption.
If you have under the 12.
Yeah,
you would be zero, but under the animal permit, it would continue to be $50 a year. With an inspection involved, the exemption is gonna be more or less not necessarily, and it not necessarily be out there inspecting, a group of chickens. Whereas if you have a larger area with, a large
well,
amount of chickens.
somebody's gotta pay for the inspections, because
Well,
people
the
don't
fif-
work for nothing, they have to
Right.
go out to a farm or somebody's home, that costs
Yeah,
money,
that's all done by the animal control officer.
but still, somebody's
It's paid by
gotta
the
those
state.
be accurate?
No, she gets paid by the town.
I thought animal control was paid by state.
No.
No, she might get reimbursed, but I know the town pays her salary.
Yeah.
Oh, really? 'Cause
Of course.
I was always under the impression that was a state.
It says Acushnet Animal Control.
Talking about
Doesn't say
small number,
Cumberland from Mass.
some kid guy comes in
Okay.
for 6 rabbits,
Right.
you want a $35 fee for just a, I think-
The initial fee.
It's just initial fee, John. You're gonna come in for rabbits, we say you
no, I'm
have
just using an
a
example.
dozen rabbits or 10 rabbits.
Yeah.
But
It's a
don't forget,
one-time
when
fee.
those rabbits mate, they're gonna mate 6 or 7 at a time. So now, if you have 10 rabbits and she has babies, those babies are counted
Well, then
in.
they come
Yeah, well,
over
what
there.
what happens then? Because you're only allowed a dozen.
That's right.
Well, that's why you have to come in the next time you have to.
Either you give them away at Easter
And you
time,
state
or
that,
you're
well,
gonna have
wait a
chickens.
minute, I got 30 chickens now.
That's
Oh,
the-
wait,
50 would be
okay,
more so
it's
for the
getting a little
inspection.
bit bigger.
Right, right, but the
How are
thing-
you located? And we already gave you a variance to actually, we gave you an exemption to the original, we can do that. So in that regulation, it states 30,000 square feet, blah, blah, whatever. Okay, well, you came in and you said you had 20,000 square feet, and we let it go, because you had it positioned in a good, it was in a good place, it was put in the right, proper place, it's not gonna affect the neighbor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get through that, and the next year they come in, they had 12 chickens, now they got 24. Well, now we have to make some decisions, because you put 24 chickens in that little spot. And that's what we want. We want to have control, because there is no control right now. We don't have control because,
Clean now.
and I explained it at that meeting that we had,
You
that
can change it.
everybody in this town everybody had chickens, and we had no control. We don't know who has chickens. It's like, okay.
Is there a pressing need to
There's a
have
whole pile
control?
of people out
What's
right
the
in this
issue?
area that have 10,000 square feet of property, and they got 20 chickens. It's a mess. We have no control. It's not so much the people out in that end of town where you guys
Well,
are, but
Go ahead.
we have to make it fair across the board, and set some rules and regulations that goes across the board, because we still have to protect the people in this area that are right in the center of town, and there's people right around here that have more than 12 chickens, I know they do. And we have no control over it.
I'd rather-
I know it because I've seen the complaints come in. So that's what we're trying to get under control.
I'd rather see
So,
chickens
yeah.
in the junkyard right on South Main Street.
Yeah,
I'd
so
rather
would
see a guy
I.
with 20 chickens than have a
I don't
junkyard
know.
right on South Main Street.
But you
That's my
don't,
thought.
remember, the regulation doesn't take away at any point in time
Yeah, we can do
from
that.
anybody having
That
20
makes it
or
easier,
30
so
or
you have to
40
be
chickens,
regular
that's not what it
But
is.
that is in the
It's
regulation.
taken
Right,
a
but you're
certain
putting it
amount
right there.
that people
Yeah,
want.
but
I guess,
You
I don't
You know,
have
the
a
12
problem with that.
chickens, the 6 chickens that they want,
Show
that are
them.
right next door over
That's
here
good.
in 5,000 square feet, and saying, okay, listen, that's okay.
Fine.
I think it
Um,
looks all right. You wanna
you know,
amend it, we'll
maybe.
amend whatever he has and just add it
We
to
don't
it.
have to
But we
vote
have
on
to
it
have,
tonight.
the board will have to make some of those
And have them
decisions.
redo it and
No,
vote
we
on
have
it
to
at
do
the
it.
next
I
meeting.
just want to make a point that before you make final decisions,
We haven't
It's-
done that yet,
you know, as far as probably, you know, have the agricultural commission,
We were gonna-
have some input.
Exactly,
some
that's what that,
clarifications that are needed, because I'm seeing, as I read this, and then we having a response, in the questions, there is some need some clarifications. And does, for example, parts of this run contrary to the right to farm, or right to farm community? And does, for example, I don't know, like on part E, on no turkeys, geese, roosters, or peacocks, does that apply to large farms that are no neighbors?
So that's the exemption. So if you wanna have it on a
Turkey farm.
smaller scale, we have a lot of issues, so we get a lot of complaints, because people go out and they buy chicks, okay, and they're gonna have some chickens. And we don't know about it, they haven't come in and talked to us about it, they buy them, and then the next thing you know, out of their 12 chicks, they have 6 roosters. And then all of a sudden, the roosters go off, and the neighbors start calling, as they mature. And then then they're beautiful, roosters are beautiful. A lot of people become they're pets, they become their pet. And then I say, listen, I can't let you keep that, because you're breaking, Massachusetts general laws about nuisance, because of how loud they are, because we're in a situation now where that rooster is 20 or 30 feet away from the neighbor's bedroom. So, I mean, that's
But I
where,
think we need clarification of the issues.
yep,
So the general public understand, and the people understand that.
Yep.
Rather than have, blanket type of, no, you can't do this, and, and it's big government telling people, what they should do and not do, when there are a lot of different aspects that we all have some mutual understanding about. if you
so
know what I'm
our
saying.
plan is definitely to go to the agricultural commission and
And,
present all of this.
right.
But we need to have something to present,
Oh, yes,
and we have a plan.
we appreciate
and-
his
and,
work.
We.
No, I'm not a member of the commission. I
We
can't
want
be,
all of
but-
their input, but this is what we wanna present,
That's,
and it's definitely gonna go to them.
okay,
So that's where we're at right now, and then we can make changes along the way, so.
See, John, these regulations too, the commission don't get the complaints like we get the complaints. Now, if there's a rooster crowing, they're gonna call this office here, and then Joe's gotta go out and check it out, then he's gonna have to be the bad guy and say, you're gonna have to get rid of that rooster. And the lady's gonna say, well, that's my pet. Now,
We've had that
we,
come up.
and these
Oh, I'm
people,
definitely
some
gonna
people
see
get
more rough.
very, very tough with the man. I mean, I've been out years ago and with rooster calls, and some people would pick up a broomstick and they wanna whack you with it. and
So my
everything.
grandma would chase you around the house with a broomstick.
That's right.
but we talk about,
But we have to go out there and check these things,
I don't know if you have, I saw it on the agenda, but but on a noise, are you looking into other noise,
Yeah, that's a different
sources
issue.
of noise?
That's a
That's a
totally
different
different thing,
issue.
John.
No, but sometimes people focus, someone having a rooster, causing me not sleep nights. Yet on the other hand, motorcycles are going up and down that same street.
There's a whole list of things on that.
You know, night and day,
Yeah.
you know, which far outweigh in noise factor.
How are you gonna
Yeah.
stop a motorcycle, get a motorcycle, they're going, phew, they're gone, you don't know who it is.
Mr. Howcroft, the noise is, the purpose of the noise regulation is PJ Keating's intent on
Correct.
moving
I'm-
the facility, but we gotta be careful not to impact other areas of town, such as the Apple Peach Festival, because, well, it's just, it's a daytime event and you don't, you know, it's just, no, but
I
you also have,
agree.
you have excavators working, you know, that we're allowed to work by law from whatever it is, 7 to
Right.
7,
And they're out
You know,
there at 8
and-
o'clock at night.
and sure, they may be working near somebody's property line and creating a certain decibel of noise, well, that's, it's allowable law, by law.
We haven't even
So we-
touched that yet.
I know, we have to, they're,
I
you
know.
know, so, we gotta be we understand we gotta be careful on, that's why we take our time.
I understand.
We like to take our time and
One thing I
make those
noticed,
decisions.
one thing I
As
noticed,
you
Good luck.
noticed, well, we
It's
took,
all gonna be
we took a
deliberative.
long time making the decision for PJ Keating, so and I think we did a fine job. And, I mean, these are some of the other issues that we haven't actually been able to get to because of all of those things that went on, so we will get to that. But I think, you know, we're presenting what we have here to the agricultural commission will be something that they can look
enjoy
at
that.
and,
Mhm.
you know, they can
Sure you
make,
would.
make their suggestions and changes. And we may agree and we may not agree. So, I mean, that's where we're at right now. I don't know if we're gonna vote on that.
well, no, I just,
I
think-
would rather wait till the next meeting.
As
Well,
long as
yes,
you're
we
all in
can-
general
I don't-
consensus of
I
what
don't-
it is.
I
It's up
would,
to you, I don't know.
I don't wanna vote on anything
No,
until we send it to
okay.
the Ag Commission, and
Well,
we can get to that motion in a bit with a couple things I wanna make. I wanna make a motion that on our fee schedule, that it's only a draft, that we add what I scribbled here
Okay.
and showed everybody, that next to application fee / new, in
mhm.
parentheses, we put it's a one-time fee, so it's clear right
Alright.
there. And then under animal permit, which to the right says $50 annually, in parentheses, not under the exemption, so that people understand.
Right.
And then,
I know you wanna put it on there, but
yeah,
it is in,
I do,
it's
but
in the-
I wanna put it here because this is
Okay.
what people look
Fine.
at
You're
when
gonna
they
be
look
looking
at
at the
fees.
fees.
right.
Correct, and then up to 12 animals under
I have no
exemption.
problem with it, I make a motion that we accept what David has
Okay,
for a motion on here.
motion is on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know.
Second,
Second, all in favor?
Yep.
So voted.
I also have an issue with.
That's enough for you.
Section C, it's actually in our current regs, and I just wonder if this, I just see this as being an issue with farmers in general, because it says within 100 feet, no animals or housing for any said animal shall be located. It's the second bullet item, within 100 feet of a high water mark of any water course directly or ultimately into a source of water supply. That's kind of where it should end, because then after that it says, or open water body as defined by the Mass Wetlands Protection Act. Thing is, under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, you can get a permit from the Conservation Commission to be less than 100. So why would we prohibit that?
Well, if he's a dairy farmer, usually dairy farmers build ponds for the cows to go drink, so you can't,
That's the other
Admit
thing, I
that.
mean, that's why I think that last part of the sentence, I don't see it as, it should be there, you know, it's already there now, so I wanna make a motion to strike from the word or afterwards, the rest of it.
Page 4.
So you wanna eliminate?
Not the whole thing,
No.
because the first part talks
Just
about
this.
drinking source of water supply.
Right.
So you're talking about a well,
Oh, I'm
or,
sorry. What
you know,
page?
say a ditch runs right by a well or
Oh, I got a
something.
different copy.
You wanna be 100 feet away, I agree with that.
What he's saying.
But then after that, it talks about, as defined by the Wetlands
Section
Protection
6.
Act. And you can get a permit to have, animal housing for animals a lot closer than, literally up to the wetlands, I think, you know, or as long as you get a permit. So the wetlands is different than a water supply source, a well, you know, a drinking water
Yeah.
supply.
or
So-
running
so-
brook, stream. that would
Well,
fall
that's a
into it.
water course,
Yeah,
but, you know, that's different than a drinking water supply, you know? And I think that falls more in the purview of
one thing
the
we have to
Conservation
think about
Commission
too,
than us.
David,
Us-
is a
us-
farmer with cattle, usually farmers in the lowest part of their property, they usually try building a pond
Sure.
to collect water for the animals to drink. They go in there in the summertime to cool off also.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that's regular farming, you know, natural farming.
According to this, you couldn't do that, so I'd
That-
like to strike
But
from.
we have to look at what you're saying about, you know.
Right, now, there's a difference between a well for, you
Drinking
know,
water.
Drinking
human drinking water.
Correct, which is our purview, drinking water.
Right,
supply.
versus, okay, we got a pond
An
over
open water
here,
body.
and then there's, you know,
You follow me? Yeah, I
overflow
got
from
you. Totally got
the,
you.
from the cow pond,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
Yeah,
This is
that's
specific.
their
But
drinking
we've
water.
had farms in Fairhaven for
Sure.
100 years, and we always had ponds.
Absolutely.
And the state used to come in and tell us exactly how to dig a pond.
This-
We couldn't just dig a hole, you had to
Right, you have to taper it.
taper it in,
Sure.
so bank in, and
This
It's
is
very
specific to
particular.
water sources though, what Dave's saying. So I mean,
Yeah.
so drinking water sources.
Right,
So if you got a stream that goes down into Long Pond or Quiddicus, I mean, just to keep it simple, that's a drinking water supply. So this would be a very distinct, stay 100 feet away from it,
correct,
versus a pond, a cow pond. You know, again, that's conservation issues for the most part, you're gonna have to deal with them.
correct.
But we don't care so much about that, as long as it's not flowing into a drinking pond.
yeah.
Because we do have parts of Acushnet, they're part of the Mattapoisett River Valley, you know, on our east side, so we, you know, and that, it needs to be, you know, protected.
Protected.
I don't know whether the old reservoir is still considered under the law, a drinking
Oh,
supply.
yes.
It is.
Oh, yes,
So
that's a backup
therefore, you
reserve.
know, we have to,
Yeah, you have to watch out for that, because you can see a lot of these things are happening right now in Westport, on the Westport River, and they're watching all of
Correct.
that. There's farmland right along the Westport River that they're trying to cut this nitrogen that's being spilled into the, they're way above, you know, regulation.
right, and so,
So, you know, that's something we need to actually look at.
and also the parts
The
of the
particular
old,
waterways that.
Well, correct, but it goes back to, if we strike the last part of it, it still protects that water body as long as it's classified by the state as a water supply, backup water supply. If it's not, then it's not protected. And that's the difference between that last part.
we also gotta be careful, you don't mind me speaking, because I'm not on the agenda, but some of the ponds that we have are used by, for irrigation.
Mhm.
And so if you're getting, you know, if you're getting a runoff into those ponds, you know, from animals, and then they use for, you know, for irrigation, and they're spraying summer squash, you know, and, you know,
Right.
washing, you know, you can, it's a
Right.
you know, it's a source of contamination.
Yeah, but you use
So-
cow manure to put
You
in
use
your
manure
garden.
anyway.
No,
it's
but,
not very
well, I
different.
think there's some
You
state
can have
regulations
manure
on that.
or go into a garden, but the vegetation that you get, the product out of it, like tomatoes, cucumbers, or whatever, does not, something
but
with
if
the
you have-
plant eliminates that
But if you have a
waste.
contaminated, what his point is, if you
But
have
see,
a
what you're
contaminated water
adding in-
supply, and you're using it to water those particular vegetables, and then you're selling that,
Of the ground into neighboring properties.
That's
You can't
the
say-
problem.
Or water courses.
That's a source of E. coli bacteria.
Right, exactly, then,
See, so you're actually, you know, so I therefore, you know, in the protections, you're looking at, you know,
Trying to cover all of it.
you gotta cover all your bases, so to speak.
Well, it looks
But
like
that's
you can
why,
even have too
you
much
know,
food in
you know,
this
we'll
country.
make some changes and then present that to, the other committees and see what they come up with, you know, on making changes to what we've come up with. It's the beginning.
You better not come to my house and ask me for no tomatoes, John, because they was coming on my garden.
Then I say,
Anyway, so we had,
there are state regulations, believe me.
you, wanna finish this up?
Hope you're not,
That's the
hope
best
you're,
stuff to do.
hope you're not selling them.
Put it this way, John, if you cut
I
out,
hope you're not selling them.
If the
you wanna
farmer
make-
stop
maybe review it
feeding
some
his
more, go to the
ground,
next
you're gonna
meeting
eat
with
nothing.
this, And then present.
Eat your money. Money is green, you can eat that.
Go ahead.
Without a farmer, you're gonna die.
Can I
And then
just?
go-
You're talking to a farmer.
One thing? Yeah,
You work for the state, a real
We're,
farmer.
we're focusing a lot on the animals, which is fine, and the fees associated with the animals, but I've made some other modifications to the fee schedule,
Mhm.
and I wanna make sure that you guys are all okay with that, also. So if they can correct the animal portion of it, but, I raised the tobacco vending permit from $20 to $75. The D-box replacement, we've been replacing an awful lot of D-boxes. And I've put that in as a $50 fee as part of the Title V. I would like to truly make that a line item.
Sure, because you have to go back and.
Yes, I have to go back and do an inspection on every one of them. And then, well permits, from time to time, we get irrigation permits. Right now, it's gone under replacement wells. I don't think it's really a new well. It's a new well, but I don't see the reason why we have to charge it. We technically don't really have to test it, is if they're not gonna drink it. So I put a line item in there for $75 for irrigation wells. And that's really it. Oh, there was one other thing. The apprentice part, and I don't know if I have that highlighted. Under body art,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
we currently
Oh,
have establishments and practitioners that we charge those fees. There's been apprentices, there is a formal process in which an apprentice can become a practitioner. We've come across that already a couple of times and dealt with it accordingly. It's about time and recording the time that they are with the practitioner that owns the establishment. Underneath their watchful eye to basically become that. We don't have that line item there for a practitioner.
Right, that would be,
And
that would be a good idea.
so that was the other one.
That all sound good to me.
Yeah.
We don't have any public swimming pools, do we, in town?
No, the public swimming pool, as I understand it, and I've never had to deal with it here in this town,
White-
but was the
No.
day camp.
The-
You can't,
White
Greenbrier.
had,
can't.
White had a
Green
public one
Briar
too.
camp.
Oh, yeah, sure, White must
He
have,
had
yeah.
one for years and years.
Yeah,
They
and
still
Greenbrier-
have it.
Yeah, but right now it's only for their use now. They don't have no more function. David died, so there's no more
They
functions
still
up
have
there.
functions.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, I didn't think they did.
Yeah. Lions Den. That's where the public swimming pool was.
I don't know.
I'm quite sure they still use it.
Now, we don't wanna, as far as so your recommendations are 1, 2, 3, 4 different new fees separate from the animal permit fees. So we kinda wanna approve these all at once at a later
Yep,
date,
sure.
Right.
once we decide on, because you wanna advertise it once, so we don't have to.
Yep.
Right, so the others get held up for the.
Right.
yeah, okay.
So we can have a motion to table it to the next meeting.
Motion to table to the next meeting,
Second? All in favor? Yep,
aye.
so voted.
All right.
Can I get a fresh copy of this?
Sure.
When we're done, I guess.
So we did actually go over the proposed fee schedule too.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're good with that. We need to approve some minutes here.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
August
I read it.
August 21st, 2018.
That's the only one I got.
Yeah, I did look it over, I didn't have any changes, I forgot to get back to you, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
It was good,
All
wordy.
voted?
No, I saw it, I took it home, and then I saw your email the next day, and
Everybody
I'll
signed
send it
the
tomorrow.
documents? Next meeting, I don't know, we can,
27th is what kind of looking at.
It's not Thanksgiving.
No, it's the week after. The 20th is the week of. So it's the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. It's almost like,
Joe, do we have any turkey farms in town?
27?
People that raise turkeys for sale?
not that I know of at this
27 is
moment.
fine, but we have to,
There used to be a pig industry.
Probably down
Used to
there,
be
but
big.
Yeah, 'cause I used to deliver
What's that?
grain to all of them.
probably in conservation.
Few
I'm
people
sure
raise,
Wanda can
you
do
know,
it.
20, 30, something like that, but
Well, no.
They're
that
so
always
expensive
poses a
to-
problem.
to
The
feed
rates are
that.
open Tuesday.
think about it,
Yeah,
getting
we'll have to
$3
deal
a
with
pound
it.
nowadays
Yeah,
and you're
leave it at
lucky to break
27 for
even.
now.
We check with
But
Dave
we're gonna go
Coster
with
and,
November 27th.
No, I'm just
Country.
asking.
I mean, if I don't have much
You know.
going on over there, I'll come here, you know?
But we'll-
Country
we'll
Hardware,
have November
they'll know who their
27th.
customers are, let you know.
Seeing no other business,
As far as actual turkey farms.
What's the date, what's the date, what's the date?
November
Too
27th.
expensive.
Yeah.
Have
You know,
a,
so, I mean, they raised the food for, you know, family and friends, and you said that
Second?
it's $3,
all in
$3.50 a
favor?
pound.
Aye, so voted.
That's right.